Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session, which is called How to Control Your Brand in Every Video Call Without the Extra Admin. My name is James Wayne. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager at Exclaimer. I'm going to be your host today, and I'm very fortunate to be joined by two amazing colleagues that you'll meet very shortly. I want to start by saying this. This is a big milestone for Exclaimer. We're really excited to bring news about what we're showcasing to you today. If you're not familiar with Exclaimer, we're known as the global leader in email signature management. We help a lot of organizations, over 70,000 in fact, and this is worldwide. We are helping them standardize, protect, and automate how they appear in their email communications, whether that is a branded email, whether it is a compliant email, whether that email reads as professional. Today, we are launching something that goes beyond email, goes beyond that space that we have existed in for the duration of our time as a company. It sets the direction for who we are intending to be in the future, what comes next. And this isn't just a new feature. We've done feature launches before. It's a first step towards a bigger vision. And that is becoming a platform that helps you to manage how your company appears across all communication, all those channels that you use. And let's face it, it is foolish to pretend that communication is happening only where you are sending email. Your teams are in Slack, they are in Teams, and importantly to today's conversation, they are on video calls. They are on video calls every day with the customers that you sell to, the partners that you work with, the suppliers that you need to maintain strong relationships with too. And in those instances, think for a moment, what is showing up on your screen? More often than not, it is not ideal. It is a messy background. It is inconsistent names, or perhaps no names at all. And we're having to spend a good chunk of that time together making introductions, letting people know who we are. Logos might be missing. They might be completely different from one person to the next. There is not the consistency, the professionalism that we would expect to be in place. It's not a good look. And we saw this gap. We saw this very clearly in our latest research, our State of Business email report that came out this year, where we surveyed over 4,000 IT leaders worldwide, said video conferencing is a critical communications tool. So I think that's enough context to what has led us to today, and decided why we wanted to build our new functionality, which is called meeting branding. But what is meeting branding? Well, it is a way for IT teams to bring a professional, consistent brand moment to every video meeting, every video call. And that includes across every single platform that you would use for video conferencing. So we're talking Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, and any others. Anywhere that you would think to use a virtual background, we are here to say we can support those moments. In addition, it's designed to be incredibly simple for organizations to adopt, simple for admins to set up, seamless for users to use, and drive really important, meaningful impact for your business and for your brand. That's just an introduction. We're going to get into a lot more detail in a moment. But first, let me introduce the rest of today's speakers. Joining me today are Maria Gersas, our Senior Director of Product, who's leading our expansion into new channels and is bringing today a deep experience in building products, including Exclaimers, that deliver long-term value. I'm also joined by Adam Bron-Smith, who is the Senior Product Manager responsible for meeting branding. He has been the driving force up to today. He'll be walking us through how it works and how we built it. Guys, how are you today? Thank you very much for joining me.
No, thank you for the introduction, James, and yeah, for setting the context. Really excited to be here and yeah, to tell everybody how we are now going into the space beyond emails and how can you leverage consistency in meeting branding as well.
First, perhaps we can get started with what I think is a really important question to answer. Why does branding in video calls matter so much today? I'd like to put it to both of you and to our audience here that the idea of branding your video calls would have felt very over the top and not an important thing to consider back in sort of pre-2020 landscape, where the concept of remote working and hybrid working was definitely not the norm.
You're absolutely right, James. Video meetings is not just a standard, like it's just a thing how people operate and how people work today. And I think we can all relate and remember maybe that one colleague who has a very messy background or a webinar that you go to and you see like all these different, faces and people coming from all over the place. And you just think to yourself, oh, maybe it would have been easier not to like read everybody's little, kind of name tags and they're in this little box here on Zoom or on Teams, but actually to yeah, like have a big remembrance of what this person is here for and which company do they represent. And these notions are really becoming not just like a standard, but like a very much a channel that companies use as well. And when you're talking to your customers and when you're talking to potential customers, you really want to make sure that you're making a good first impression and that it's something that is memorable. So it's an interview, it's a sales pitch, it's a support call, and you want to make not just an impression, but you want to make a lasting experience for your customers to remember. And yeah, for a lot of companies, that's I think a nice to have maybe, or a problem that it's not really that obvious, but everybody will remember one person who is coming to a meeting with a really popping background and being like, wait, how did you do that?
I completely agree with Maria, and I've certainly been a victim of joining calls where you are distracted by what's going on in the background rather than being present. And I think this is a really good example. You've got half the teams here joining calls from different locations, whether that be in an office, at home, and they have different backgrounds. Some people opt for blur in the background, some people opt for using default ones through Microsoft Teams. And I think it just becomes very distracting from being able to focus on the meeting agenda. And how we built meeting branding really gives you that elevation of video calls. Everyone then comes to the meeting exactly like an email signature. There's trust, authenticity, and credibility. You can see even from the backgrounds we have today, that name tag shares representatives with email signatures. We know exactly who each other are. There is a clear and consistent background, and it allows us to stay present and focus on the meeting conversation. There's no longer that loud coffee shop background that's distracting or things going on that could take you away from the actual call.
Yeah, and I think what we have to acknowledge is that video meetings are these brand moments that are still up for grab. Companies can put their best foot forward in these moments where they are talking to their customers, their prospects, their vendors. These are moments where you can separate yourself from your competition, separate yourself away from the norm. And this is something that you can do repeatedly across all of your employees multiple times a day. These are touch points that are happening again and again and again. And if you've got the right kind of setup and you're using something like our meeting branding functionality to make something more of those moments, you're increasing brand awareness, building brand recognition, building brand affinity. So that consistency, it starts to impact trust. It makes you more credible. I personally, I know that I have been on calls recently with this new functionality in place, this background, that you're seeing here today, and it's really making a difference to that conversation. And if it's a first time interaction in particular, they're noticing that background straight away. They're conscious of who I am, what role I conduct for the organization. They're impressed. They're already engaging with the conversation, and because there's an easier introduction to be had, that we both know that that conversation is going to be more effective as a result. I think there's so many advantages to thinking about these brand moments in a really considered way. But it's also true, I think you would both agree, that a lot of organizations don't. It's an afterthought. They're not thinking about how their employees are representing their business, their brand on the calls that are taking place. It's not a branding issue to them.
Oh yeah, I would certainly agree. And it's like to a point, James, it's about familiarity as well, right? Like just making sure that, well, for example, you wouldn't be caught talking to a customer wearing a t-shirt of another brand, right? Like you probably want to stick to what you represent and how your company will, and your services, your product will look in the best possible light there is, right? And the reason why we also believe that with meeting branding, it's like it's a good idea, not just for the customers that already like maybe interacting a lot with their like with their prospects, with their customer base, but it's a lot like email signatures, isn't it? Like you'd certainly have a very similar approach to how you ensure consistency. And it's also something that you can easily kind of set up for people in your organization to be able to control when they are talking to somebody who is like an important enterprise prospect, for instance, right? Or if it's an internal call and it doesn't have to be like so formalized. Would you agree, Adam, actually?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, as I said, from a IT perspective, we know governance is critical to those roles. We've seen IT teams lock down email and help control the message that happens on every single communication. We've also seen that start to happen with things like websites or CRM data. And, branded backgrounds aren't new. Managing them at scale is. And I think this is where we're moving. The working world's changing every day. We see more companies now being remote or hybrid. And arguably, in some roles, you probably have more video calls than you do send email. So understanding about how you represent your brand in a consistent way is exactly where we should be heading. And I think this is where meet and branding solves that. We're talking about thousands of employees at, very, very large companies. And whilst we have governance and control issues with things like email signatures and being able to give that into a centralized place, video conference is often forgot about. So I think this is hopefully us redefining the space and helping people solve a problem they maybe not be aware of.
Okay, thank you both. I think at this stage we have successfully set the scene. But what I'd like to do is really zoom out so our listeners can perhaps understand why Exclaimer is moving into the world of video branding as an extension to the value we provide our customers. Maria, perhaps you can enlighten us all with the thinking behind our meeting branding feature. What was really the impetus for moving in this direction?
Sure. So first of all, meeting branding is a first step, I would say, in the direction of us becoming a multi-channel platform. So it's like what you mentioned earlier, James. As we scale beyond email, we want to understand and we want to see how we can continue providing value of confidence and consistency and being on brand and protected across the many communication channels that our customers have. We recently did a study, a global one, with almost 4,000 respondents coming from the IT sector, but from various industries. And this basically confirmed that, yeah, almost 95% of the respondents are saying that email is taking, yeah, like a secondary role perhaps in the way that internal communication is being set up for sure. But when it comes to actually contacting your customers, there's still a lot of there's still a lot of sensitive and a lot of like important confidential information that has to be going through emails, right? Like when you're just talking to your customer about setting up a potential trial, right? Like if you're talking to your customer and maybe you want to deliver some updates and news to them, not necessarily via email only, but using WhatsApp. Lots of smaller businesses really rely on that, and it became a norm that you would be contacted via SMS, sending you a link to your booking, let's say if you're going to a restaurant. And there's been a lot of like explosion of these tools for how do you reach your customer, but also how do you collaborate internally. Yeah. We at Exclaimer, we use Slack, as many I would say 1,000 businesses do so as well globally. And we are recording this in Zoom. We are also using Teams for our calls. Sometimes we're meeting in Google Meet. So all of these communication channels, communication platforms, right? Like they offer you a lot of flexibility and a lot of options, right? Like who do you meet, where do you meet, and how to do it. So long story short, when you are connecting to your customers across all of these, right? Like you probably still want to have like a similar experience that you give them. Because we kind of talked about this earlier, right? Like it is not just a first impression. This is something that you can create of a lasting importance for your customer. And it may be the thing that will make you stand out from the crowd and be the reason to buy, the reason to partner with you. And so we at Exclaimer, we understood that as being not just a solution to a problem, but rather allowing every company to communicate with confidence and translating that into our product suite, translating that into our features, and making sure that the IT teams have what they need to deliver protected, on brand, and easy to set up and manage communication.
Yeah, I think it's worth just adding on to that as well, is that when we think about Exclaimer as a tool today, as Maria's highlighted, I actually think this is a very natural step for us to move into. We're talking about Exclaimer here. It's trusted by 70,000 customers online to provide them with consistency across email signatures. And I think as we see here, there's a lot of synergies with email signatures and meeting backgrounds. And I think one of the great things we see here about meeting branding and how do we continue that trust and credibility for our next offering is that we've created meeting branding with some really core values that you see in email signatures, right? You have centralized control. IT admins have complete governance. There is automation, so there's a reduced amount of steps in terms of setup. And we also provide you with that reliable and security options that we've given you with email signatures for many, many years. And I think that's where we really seeing as Maria had mentioned, being able to open up new opportunities, but make sure that it still stays at Exclaimer's core values throughout. And that's why I'm really excited to be a part of the Exclaimer journey into new channels too.
Yeah, we are very much on what I would believe is a path of creating and expanding our feature set with a different kind of value for our customers. Something that hopefully people on this call can also look forward to go to the product and be like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know you could actually have a brand experience like that in meetings like we talk about here, or maybe in Slack, because who knows, maybe that's going to be the next one that you'll have. So anyway, without talking about this too much and giving out too much, because obviously it's going to be further excitement build later. James, I want to go back actually to meeting branding itself, and let's maybe talk about how it works and how can our customers leverage the value of that.
Yes, thank you, Maria. That was lovely put, both of you. I particularly liked your comment about communicating with confidence. And I think that encapsulates at its core what we are trying to accomplish with our solutions, with our functionality. And as you said, we've talked, I think, enough about why we're doing all of this. Let's now talk about the how and what this functionality, meeting branding, what it actually looks like. How do you roll it out? Adam, what I want to do by coming to you now is really think about how our audience here can use this functionality to deliver real value for their organization.
So yeah, the first thing to know is that meeting branding works in a very similar way to email signatures. It's designed for customers that want employees to show up professionally, as we've mentioned. But there's two ways really to roll out this feature, and that all depends on the video platform that you're using. So if we start with Zoom, we actually currently offer our most advanced integration there. It allows you to have branded overlays to make sure that your video feed automatically updates in real time. So if an IT admin wants to roll out a new feature, all end users receive it in real time. So for Zoom, how it works is that a user will join a Zoom meeting. Exclaimer's Zoom application will then identify them as part of your domain, and then we instantly generate a branded overlay. It shows their name, job title, and company logo, just as you see as the examples on screen. The great news there is that it applies it immediately to their video feed as soon as they join a call. There's no manual setup, and there's no process for the end user to actually configure. And then our second way is that we should be able to support via other solutions. And I think this is a really key part for us here. We have a scalable solution completely tailored to whatever video conferencing software you use. So whilst I said to you about Zoom being automatic and providing you with auto deployment, we also can support things like Google Meets and Google and Microsoft Teams. That can be simply done by your IT admin distributing a link to our user details editor, where each end user can go away and download their tailored, personalized background for your platform of choice. One thing I would like to just stress here to end on is that actually, like us at Exclaimer, we use Zoom and also use Teams. Meeting branding can provide you with both solutions out of the box, so you don't have to select just one.
And just to confirm, Adam, this is very much a one-time connection, right? That you need to set up with Zoom. So if you're an admin and Exclaimer, and yeah, like if you are already using our solution to manage your email signatures, you would just go and navigate to the meeting branding space within the product, right? Just enable it once using the same branded elements that you would in your email signature, and then you get yourself a very nice overlay with all of the information populated correctly from your Active Directory, right? And like of your place of choice for where you have your employee data, so that it's easy for the end users, so for your colleagues to be basically yeah, like doing not doing that much work to have this beautiful background, right?
Absolutely, exactly that. So right today, all the IT admin has to do is to manually upload their meeting background inside the Exclaimer application, and exactly that. It's an install and forget. You configure the original configuration with Zoom, and once that's installed and applied onto the machines, it will then run and give you the updated backgrounds in real time. Really easy, just as we set up with email signatures. It's a one-time thing that we handle the automation and take any sort of hassle away from you.
Adam, what happens if, let's say, somebody changes their title and, they do, I have, as an IT admin, also have to like make sure that like it's updated for everybody, or is there another option?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, Maria, and we've already got that solved for you. So just like email signatures, as soon as you see things like job titles being updated in either an Active Directory if you're an Azure customer, or Google Directory if you use Google, similar to how we do email signatures, as long as that detail is up to date, it will appear exactly as you would like it to in meeting backgrounds. So again, if people get promoted or people start to move departments, we've already got one step ahead and got that solved for you.
Nice. No, thank you, Adam. And of course, I also have to say, like, we're just, of course, starting out with this feature, right? Like, we just launched it, but we already have, I want to say, a couple of thousand customers registering their interest in this feature, and almost close to 500 adopting meeting branding, actually using it today. Globally, we see it happening in the US, in the UK, in Germany, actually, and Australia too. So the interest and the early signals of success are definitely there. But at the same time, yeah, we have no intention of stopping. So this is not going to be a feature that, yeah, like we kind of put out there and forget. So we know that there are some really big customers, like famous car manufacturers and pretty big IT suppliers are already using this feature and they are sharing their feedback with us on what we can do next. So just I want to, bring this up to also share with everybody that we're considering changing things and allowing even for more flexibility when it comes to multiple brand management, when it comes to working with the name tags and like what kind of edits can you do there as a staff or as an IT admin, and even considering things like targeting, right, Adam, where will be able to sort of specify what kind of backgrounds and what kind of branding elements can be used for your internal versus external calls based on your team or something, right? I know I'm kind of giving away too much right now, but I just wanted to like share this with everybody on the call just to really help you see that your feedback actually is gonna be very, very valuable here, and the way that you use it, we're gonna be able to see. And Adam personally will really appreciate all your thoughts that you have on this.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that just to give you a example of how it's grown. We've seen this being in beta for a number of months. We've got some amazing feedback from our early adopters in taking this through. And we're hearing feedback in terms of new challenges and how we can get there. We're thinking about how you can customize that name tag, as you mentioned, Maria. But I think there's some really nice things as well that we can do is even recently, as part of the workflow, you can now see a live preview. So if you're an IT admin, you may not be the most creative, nor am I. So it gives you that really sort of confidence boost when you get to see exactly how that preview looks. We give you an avatar so you can see exactly how the perspective looks and also how it would differ from things like Zoom, Google Meets, or Microsoft Teams. So again, going back to Exclaimer's core values, we're giving you trust, we're helping you make your first deployment successful, and we're there every step of the way. As I say, the roadmap for this is very healthy, and I'm really excited about where we can take it. And even just in the few months that we've moved from beta, we've had some great launches and plenty more to come.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. It's a very exciting roadmap, isn't it? Like, yeah, we're just, of course, shaping the direction, but I kind of gave it away a little bit, but that we are, thinking what other channels that we could adopt next, right? So you're very much leading the discovery and research there too, yeah?
Certainly am. We say I think we're just seeing here as communications are evolving. We're moving out of email signatures. There's other ways to contact staff and employees in a remote world. Meeting brand is that first step. I'm certainly keen to see where we can also take it and help brands have more consistency in presence and communication.
I love this overview, guys. I think this has been a great insight as to some of the value that is possible here. Can we perhaps move into some of that feedback that you mentioned? Like, what are customers already saying about it? Those early adopters, what lessons have we already learned? And Adam, perhaps we can come to you first because you've been at the center of the rollout. What are the responses been like?
Yeah, as I said to you a minute ago, I think it's really been really positively received. I think it's really nice to be in a world that we're solving, or providing a solution for a problem that people have probably been aware of, but not actively seek to pursue previously. When we're speaking to IT managers for the last couple of months of rolling this feature out, one of the really nice bits of feedback we had about the Zoom integration was that it allowed them to have a scalable solution, right? They went in, they created the meeting background, and for the IT admin, it was a really nice way for them to be able to deploy Zoom meeting backgrounds, but they also didn't have a flood of support tickets. There wasn't people getting confused about manual setup, and again, taking that pain out of step by step for a SaaS company that has a remote organization, it was the perfect solution for them. I think some of the other stuff that we've seen was also from a highly regulated industry like healthcare. And they said exactly what we mentioned earlier, right? Which is adding names and job titles provide people with comfortable and confidence in who they're speaking to. If you're a registered professional, you need to have that. And the Exclaimer meeting branding allows you to have that at scale.
So it's almost like just the reduction in friction in those instances. Like we're able to get the most out of the meeting because everyone's conscious of who's on the call, that the right setting has been established for a professional conversation. I don't need to introduce myself again, things like that.
I completely agree. I think this is a really nice way, and I should have mentioned it a second ago, but sometimes the best feedback you get as a product manager is when you speak to some of those core end users, and the feedback is really simple. It can sometimes just be 3 words, and then 3 words is it just works. And I think that's really nice, right? That just solves that we can have a scalable product that allows you to give you consistent meeting backgrounds on demand. And I think that's a really validating step in terms of where we're going, and that the solution we have today is fit for purpose.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, let's be honest, we're not in the business of just shipping stuff. We want to know that this is the stuff that makes the difference. And I think what's really exciting here is that it feels like we are solving a very messy and a very everyday problem for organizations that feels like it's the right fit, and we're seeing the results of that already. It shows that we're in the right direction.
All right. So with this, I know we talked about meeting branding a lot already, and what is the feature set that we currently have. I also wanted to just to maybe ask you, Adam, again, what should the lovely listeners here do if actually they're trying out the feature, because it is available in all of the trial experiences as well. So when you start, you will be able to utilize this already. But what if people are struggling? In what ways can we support them, by the way?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, as you said, Meet and Branding is available to anyone that has a pro license today. It's also available immediately for anyone who starts an Exclaimer trial. Through the Meet and Branding process, if you do get stuck, it should be relatively straightforward. But we do have a completely tailored help center article. It gives you a really clear breakdown with visuals for every single configuration that you'd like. So whether that be a Zoom support and maybe accessing the Zoom marketplace to download the application, or even going through in terms of helping you distribute the UDE link. I think one of the really nice things that we've also seen during that early onboarding phase is that IT admins aren't alone in this, right? Email signatures require marketing expertise. And similarly, you'll need that with meeting branding. And I think it's quite a nice way to connect both design and IT to come up with a really nice background that is scalable. They can then, IT admin simply has to upload it, and then everyone benefits.
What I'm a massive fan of personally is that as you go through the kind of configuration and setup, you might be undertaking to get your email signatures into a really consistent and compliant space. You're already likely going to be doing some of the consideration that would be necessary to get a kind of consistent and professional looking background set up too. So in our product during that trial, you can be thinking of both of those processes together, kind of setting up both of those outcomes at the same time, especially when you consider that a lot of the things that are necessary to complete happen in our dedicated area for branding. And once those components are set up, both deploying signatures and deploying your meeting branding from there is a really straightforward exercise. I think with that, we've given our audience a lot to be thinking about. We really do hope that if you haven't taken the leap and thought about giving Exclaimer a go before today, that this is the stimulus to go ahead and do so, because you're going to get this extra value now by setting up a trial and experiencing this for yourself. You'll be able to get that consistency in the email signature that has always been our principal area of concern. And now we're really excited that you're going to be able to go in and start thinking about your meeting branding, your video call branding at the same time. We do, thankfully, at the end of today's session, have a little time to answer some of the questions that you guys have been sending us through. I've just taken a look, and there are a lot, so we're going to do what we can. If you don't mind, guys, we're going to keep the answers to these questions quick and to the point so we can get through as much as possible. And we'll try and cover off as much as we can, folks. The first one up is we already have brand guidelines for meetings. We already tell our users what they should be doing. So why should we adopt a tool like this?
I can take this one, James. It's a very common question that many customers ask us, and I would say that it is great that you already took this effort and yeah, made this step for your employees to be using the branded guidelines. But at the same time, it probably requires a lot of manual work to make sure that this is actually followed, right? Um, I may be wrong and maybe like up to, your company for how you are setting this up, but I could imagine that for the IT admins, you wouldn't necessarily have an easy and integrated view of like how your employees are using your branded guidelines in meetings, like 100% of the time, right? Um, so yeah, like we've decided to actually see and recognize that yeah, this is a pretty common ask and a pretty common task for the IT admins and for the marketers of our customers, yeah, to be going through. So we've decided to build a feature that just takes this and relieves this instantly, right? By making sure that yeah, nobody forgets, that nobody is even yeah, like thinking about it, but rather can have a very cool background and a very cool overlay that they can always see, and you don't have to operationalize that. So yeah, I would say it, of course, again, like depends on each customer's setup, but generally, it's just gonna get an easier thing to do.
And of course, guidelines do not equal consistency, right? Without some sort of central control, a best practice, a sort of strategy is all well and good, but unless you can really truly enforce that strategy and those guidelines, can you truly be confident that they are being followed in the ways that you might expect? What our feature does, which is, of course, one of its core pieces of value, is that it's taking that out of the hands of the employee decision. It's making it so that you're kind of automating a lot of that process and making it really, really simple for those guidelines to be followed. You're not reliant on people making the right choices and putting in a lot of effort to get to the end result. Let's do another one. What video platforms does Beating Branding support right now? Can you talk about the limitations for platforms that aren't Zoom?
Yeah, I don't mind taking that one. Yeah, so there's certainly two solutions that we have to market at the moment. One which is application deployed, so that's Zoom, which allows you to just download the Zoom Marketplace application, and it allows you then to auto roll that out to your employees, so you don't have to have any manual steps. The other one that we have is user deployed, um, and that does require one little manual step for now, and that's often seen to be used by Microsoft Teams and Google Meets. So the IT admin would distribute a link to our user details editor, which allows your employee to log in, tailor their details, and download their background. Um, whilst we know that there is more appetite for the auto deployment offering, we are exploring API limitations and opportunities to roll that out to things like Microsoft Teams and other solutions in the future. Sorry. But right now, there's two same core ways that we do it. One through app deployed for Zoom, and then user deployed for other solutions like Google Meet and also Microsoft Teams.
Awesome. I like this question a lot, and I think it's very telling how this has been asked. I think I can be certain this has come from an IT pro somewhere in our audience. How much setup is required, and what's the expectation on impact on our support tickets?
Yeah, I'll take this one as well. It's really low lift, right? Like we're trying to make your life as easy as possible, especially those who work in IT administration roles. If you're already using Exclaimer, so for email signatures, most of the setup is pretty much done. You're already leveraging things like Active Directory, so user details are already synced, so name tags are exactly how they should be. But then also, if you're new to Exclaimer, that setup's automated. We just need read access to your user directory and then also your branding elements. So for Zoom, as I just mentioned, it's a one-time integration, and it overlays are applied automatically. And then we also have that solution if you're using a different video conferencing software, where you can just take your branded template, send the links to your users, and then they can download their personalized backgrounds. And I think the last thing I will touch upon that because I'm sure it's a similar thought for people, you don't have to exclusively choose. I think that's a really nice one. If you are a IT admin that supports both Zoom and also Microsoft Teams in your organization, you can use both the app deployed methods and also the user deployed methods. So brand consistency remains paramount on both platforms for you.
Okay. I think we do have time for just one more, I think. And I think this is a really interesting one to end on. Is this, in your opinion, something we should be using just for customer-facing teams, or is it best practice to roll this out company-wide?
I can take this one. So, to be honest, there is no guideline for this. We use meeting branding for internal calls too. Some of our customers are known to do so for their sales department, for their marketing, so for the customer success teams. So it really depends on the use case that you may have. Really, yeah, accessible to everybody, and yeah, you could actually limit and target for how does this work? Yeah, based on your needs.
Cool, thank you. I think with that, we can bring today's session to a close. A thank you, of course, to both Maria and Adam for joining us. We covered a lot today. Why video meetings are today a really key communication channel for organizations, to how this new meeting branding functionality that we have launched gives IT the control to manage those experiences. So whether it's a really important high stakes call or a weekly check-in, this feature lets you show up professionally and on brand across all of those video meetings. Today, you can get access to this fantastic feature by simply signing up. It will be part of the functionality available during your trial. After that, it composes part of Exclaimer's Pro plan. You can get full access to the Exclaimer product suite for email signature management at the same time. All you need to do is head over to exclaimer.com, and there you can sign up for a free trial. You can also ask for a personalized demo where any one of our sales members would be delighted to take you through a full tour of this functionality. And if you've got ideas for what you'd like to see next from either this functionality or perhaps, as we've teased out today, another communications channel that you're struggling with, do let us know, because we are always listening and your feedback really does mean the world. So I think all that is left for us to do is thank you for spending the time with us today, and we will hopefully see you on the next one. But from us all for today, it is bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.